What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Monaco Grand Prix Q&A stream thingy bobber. Hopefully everyone is doing well. Hopefully everyone is having a good Wednesday, a good week of prep before the Monaco Grand Prix. If you are new to the Q&A streams, just drop your questions in the chat and we will get around to answering them. As for the next hour, I am all y'all's. I have a poll up already. Are you preparing to activate a chip in Monaco? Yes, limitless. Yes, final fix. Yes, no, negative. And no. So get your votes in there and we'll see where everyone is at. I've got Eduardo in the chat here. First question of the night saying, hey, you insane team is your T1 plus 1.7 million. You lucky duck. Should I go for Williams plus Sonoda or just change Mercedes to Red Bull and roll free transfer for Spain, or maybe consider final fix? Greetings from Madrid. Oh, what is up? A pretty important football match going on in another Spanish city tonight. Man United versus Tottenham. If anyone has a fandom there, let me know. Marty says hello. Parzival says, hey, got my first A-level log exam tomorrow, so locked in limitless today. Saves your T1 team except Stroll instead of Bortoleto and Williams instead of Merck. Wow, good luck on that, Parzival. Fingers crossed. Back to Eduardo's question, though. Should I go Williams plus Sonoda or just change Mercedes to Red Bull and roll free transfer for Spain, or maybe consider final fix? So right now, I am considering final fix quite a lot. And we've got an hour here, so I'm going to answer as many questions as possible, but I do want to have a little bit more of a structured conversation at some point over the next hour. Maybe in like 10 minutes, we'll see if we get some more people in here. Right now, there's 28 people watching. If you are new to the channel, like the video. Greatly appreciate any likes. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. We went over 3,100 in my team selection video. I was hoping to get that by the weekend, and y'all have absolutely crushed it yet again. And we are rocking and rolling at 3,100. I'm just realizing that my charger is not all the way plugged in, so let me do that for 2 seconds. There we go. Much better, much more power. There we go. Hopefully that helps. But yes, Eduardo, I'm kind of going to get to your question. So if you can hang around for like 10 minutes, I'm going to kind of go into the main talking point of the episode. Adil says, should I keep Hadjar or crash a Pinto this week? I know Hadjar is likely to negative 0.2 million, but he's dropping a 0 score from Miami, while Crash Pinto is a large negative 20 risk. I agree. I think I would. It is kind of all about budget preservation, Adil. So I am inclined to say Colapinto, but I have reservations about selling Hadjar as well. I don't feel too bad about taking another -2, but then it's like, oh man, I've taken a -4 on this guy already. So that's kind of tough as well. So I understand your question. For budget preservation, I would probably go Colapinto, but I don't mind keeping Hadjar in. So it really just depends what you are. I think Hadjar is going to score more points. Bernard says, hi, Yoon. Would you consider limitless if you had a team with Piastri, Albon, Hadjar, Bortoleto, McLaren, Mercedes? I'm also thinking real hard about the Hadjar price drop and Merck. With the current weather forecast, which I think is about 60% rain, I don't think limitless is on the table for me. I think even if it was dry, I still don't think I'd go limitless, because right now, Hadjar set to fall 0.2. Mercedes probably only going to go up 0.1. I don't feel great about activating the limitless chip. Throw in the weather, and then also throw in the fact that if you activate the limitless chip, it prevents you from using your final fix chip. That is not all that great. So that's kind of where I'm at this weekend so far, Benaz, as of Wednesday night at 8:34 Germany time. Marty's here asking a question. I have Piastri, Albon, Stroll, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Williams. I could run limitless, but I'm scared about how the 2 pit stop rules. If I don't run limitless now, I would have to go for Spa and lose difference over non-LL teams. What do you think? I am also in that camp a little bit, Marty, because I don't know if the 2 stop rule is going to drastically shake things up or just not do anything at all. I mentioned it on my team selection video, but in preseason testing, I think it was the day after the Monaco Grand Prix stuff was kind of announced. Bernie Collins was like, I don't know why people wouldn't just pit on lap 1 and pit on lap 2 and see how they can go that much longer in the race. Hopefully they catch up on the pit stops, that kind of thing. I'm not entirely sure if that's what will happen. I mean, Esteban Ocon just pitted on lap 1 at Imola. So that's where at Parzival. I'm getting that info. I saw it was F1 Big Data on X, but I believe he just took a screenshot of the Formula One weather forecast. So I would go there. They usually have an article is like, what's the weather like for the Monaco Grand Prix? Google says a high of 35% chance on Saturday and around 10 to 15 the rest. Yeah, it's just something I saw, and Holiness, I think he's Holiness, but at F1 Big Data on X usually kind of tracks that quite well. Kai the guy says, I've got Piastri, Stroll, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Mercedes. Budget is a little low at 107.9 total. Wondering if I should try to do more budget building with a Williams build or stick with 2 premium constructors. I'm in a very similar situation to you, Kai the guy, and I think I'm starting to lean towards getting Williams. So we're about 6 minutes in. I'm going to post this as a podcast as well, so if you want to listen to it back, but I just want to get into this a little bit. So Kai the guy, hopefully this answers your question. So on X earlier today, oh, that's not the right X account. Is this the right X account? Here we go. 4.8 or 6.4. Those are the magic numbers in F1 Fantasy for the Monaco Grand Prix. That's how much cost cap you'll need to leave yourself to use the final fix chip and upgrade Oscar Piastri to either Max Verstappen or Lando Norris. So you need that amount of money in your cost cap if you would want to use the final fix to upgrade Oscar Piastri to Max Verstappen. That's 4.8 million, or Oscar Piastri to Lando Norris. That's pretty important. You can't use 2 chips in a weekend, so Limitless and Final Fix, you cannot use those together. So you have to think about that a little bit. There's also all these other great points here. I had another one. I thought I had it up, but here it is. Where did you go? Okay. Here it is. There was 1 overtake in the top 10 at last year's Monaco Grand Prix. The list below provides what each position would score in F1 Fantasy if they qualified and finished in that same position without any overtakes. It's important to note this when thinking about ceilings and budget building potential. First is 35 points, second 27, third 23, fourth 19, so on and so forth, all the way down to 10th in 2. Another note, only Bottas 8 points and Alonso 5 points scored more than 2 points for those drivers who qualified outside the top 10. Yikes! Moving on here to Luke at Luke F1 Fantasy says, no driver who finished 8th or below was able to secure more than 8 points in Monaco in 2024. Lowest score in the top 7 was 13 points. It's going to take a top 7 finish for Tsunoda and Albon to get a 0.6 increase. I have more confidence in Albon qualifying top 6 right now. So that's me and Luke kind of agreeing there a little bit. So then I went back and I looked at 2023 and 2024 Monaco, and this is where it all ends up, and the average over here. So I understand that the numbers are a little bit small. I'll try to remember to post this screenshot on X later and probably on the YouTube community posts. So this is 2023 column right here. So quali spot, where they qualified, and how many fantasy points they scored in the weekend for the Monaco Grand Prix. So in 2023, Verstappen qualified first and scored 35 fantasy points. He won the race. Alonso was second, scored 27. Leclerc was third, and he scored 16 because he fell down the grid. Ocon was fourth, got the podium and driver of the day, 32 points. Sainz fell as well, 6. Hamilton got fastest lap, 28. Gasly, 10. Russell, 16. Sonoda, -4. So that was a little bit of a more mixed up year. But 2024, Leclerc, 45 points, qualified first, won the race, driver of the day. Bing, bang, boom. Piastri, 27, Sainz, 23, Norris, 19, Russell, 16, Verstappen, 13, Hamilton, 20 with the fastest lap. So Hamilton has back-to-back fastest laps. Maybe he just knows how to speed around the corners of Monte Carlo. Sonoda, 7, Albon, 5, Gasly, 2. Ocon had a DNF, Ricciardo, 0, Stroll, 2, Alonso, 5, Sargent, 1, Bottas, 8, Zhou Guanyu, 2. This entire long-winded story is just a way to say that it's going to be really, really freaking hard to gain budget this weekend in Monaco. And we have to try to prioritize how we're going to get that done because we don't want to lose budget, right? So just right here on even the A-tier drivers, I mean, I don't think anyone's really considering anyone except Oscar Piastri as their 2x driver heading into the weekend, but Piastri needs -23 points for a good price rise, -1 point for a great price rise. Every other A-tier driver is far from guaranteed a great price rise, or even a good price rise. Norris, -3 points, 25 points. Are you telling me that Lando Norris, who just qualified 4th in Imola, couldn't qualify 4th in Monaco and finish 4th and only get 19 points and get just a good price rise? Lewis Hamilton, 7 points for a good, 29 for a great. Russell, 16 and 36. Verstappen, 10 and 36. Like for Russell and Verstappen, if they qualify first and win the race and don't get driver of the day or fastest lap, they will not have a great price rise. That is how few points are on offer at the Monaco Grand Prix. Leclerc is going to fall probably the max, and then Antonelli I would expect to fall the max as well, barring qualifying win, winning the race, driver of the day, and fastest lap all at once. He would still fall 0.1 million. And Antonelli potentially could be a B-tier asset for the Spanish Grand Prix. He started the season at 18.4, and he jumped up 0.6 to 19, and then he was an A-tier asset. But do we know for a fact that if he drops down to 18.9, that he's not still going to be an A-tier asset? Because we don't really know where that exact threshold is. Now, it probably is going to be a round number, right? But we all thought it was 20 million to begin the year. Do we know it's not 18.7 or 18.6? No, we do not. So we have to take that into account as well. So while we think when he drops below the 19 million threshold, he will likely be a B-tier asset, we don't know that he is actually going to be a B-tier asset. So that's just something we need to think about as well. A-tier budgets are going to be hard to rise, and I will get into the B-tier budget as well, but this is a Q&A stream, so I'm going to some of those Qs. Is that the right way to say that? Yes, sure. Let's go for it. 50 people watching, 14 likes, always trying to get double or half the amount of likes for views. So if y'all are watching and not liking that video, help me out and drop a like there. Marty says, wow, and with possible rain, Limitless is an even worse situation. Yep, I agree, Marty. Oliver says, I ran Sainz instead of Stroll in Imola and it paid off, but I think both will go down. I have Piastri, Sainz, Hadjar, Bordello, Colapinto, McLaren, Mercedes. If Williams looks good, might run triple Williams. Budget is 105.5. Yep, I agree. I don't mind triple Williams at all this weekend. Joe says, hey, Ewan, how about McLaren, Williams, Piastri, Albon, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Gasly for -10? Budget is 111.4. Oh, Joe, I'm so jealous. Yes, you should have plenty of budget building potential there, Joe. So I like that quite a bit. Oh, yeah, A says, is Sainz going to start rising soon? Yes, once this 0 falls off from the Miami Grand Prix, Sainz will likely be around this price point, either 9.1 or 9.5. and he'll have a 12 to start off with. So he'll be in a good spot there for sure. Alberto says Hadjar had good results in F2 Monaco last year, qualified second, finished second, sprint started 8th, finished 8th. Gives me a bit of hope, but we'll see in practice how he looks in the Racing Bull. I agree, Alberto. That's quite a good, that's a good point. That being said, I currently have McLaren, Williams, Piastri, Albon, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hadjar, only making one change of anyone of Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hadjar to Gasly, and considering no negative. Yeah, especially if it's rainy, I don't mind no negative at all. Hello, what are you thinking of no negative? And is Gasly an essential to have or prefer Albon if I had to choose? I probably wouldn't say anyone is ever essential, but you know, that's just like a fantasy thing, like a fantasy theory kind of thing for me. But Gasly is... So as we can see here, El Pepe, let me take your chat off the screen. So Gasly's got this 18 points right here, kind of propping him up right now, and then 3 points in Imola. Pretty disappointing. So he just needs 0 for a good price rise and to get back up to 7.8. However, if we go over to the fantastic resource, Pat's F1 Insights, we can look at Gasly here. So if Gasly scores 0 points in Monaco, he will need 26 points in Spain for a great price rise. He will need 19 points for a good price rise, which is a little absurd. So, yeah, Gasly might be like a 1 week kind of punt, which isn't fantastic to hear if you're using a free transfer on him. Whereas Albon has 19 and 18. I expect him to finish in the top 10. So he needs 0 points for a good price rise, 12 points for a great price rise. If we go back over here, 12 points. That's 6th. That's qualifying 6th and finishing 6th. It could happen. It just happened in Imola, but Imola is different than Monaco. There's part of me that is kind of waiting for Ferrari to like drop the other shoe, or the other shoe to drop with Ferrari, and just like they put it together and have a banging weekend in Monaco. But I'd have to see some like crazy results on Friday. Let me close out this here. But, and then 4.8 or 6.5. Yeah. So that is something that is slightly concerning, but Formula Fantasy Hub, Rob says, very controversial take here, but I'm a huge fan of Charles Leclerc at home. Even a 0.1 price rise may be out of reach unless he wins, but he's had 3 pole position in his last 4 visits to Monaco. He's definitely a final fix candidate for someone such as Piastri. Leclerc's price means you don't have to put aside $6 million for Norris/Verstappen that could be reinvested into the likes of Sainz, Gasly, Albon, etc. Great point by Mr. Rob, as per usual. And then let me go find this other tweet that I had this morning. So then, in response to my tweet here, the 4.8 or the 6.4, those are the magic numbers. Sam over here says, I'm ready to be heartbroken once again. Up the NUFC for UCL. He's a Magpies fan. That's his one flaw. Piastri, Albon, Gasly, Bortoleto, Colapinto, McLaren, and Williams. Very interesting lineup, because there's tons that you can do here. And someone pointed it out on X here. I think this is, it says Jorgen. It says, I think this is the optimal build for Monaco. It leaves you space to bring in Verstappen instead of Piastri, Sainz instead of Colapinto/Bortoleto, and Tsunoda instead of Gasly. So now we go over here to my squad, and you're dang right. It's a very nice build. If I bring in Pierre Gasly and Williams here, that leaves me 6.9 in the bank. So, say it's Saturday night, Albon's qualified 18th. I'm freaking out, and Tsunoda's qualified 6th. Let's go over here, and there's enough for... There's actually enough for Kimi Antonelli. which is also something interesting. But Yuki Tsunoda right there. If that doesn't work, Pierre Gasly can come out, or Tsunoda instead of Gasly. I can't get to Tsunoda, so I'm 0.1 short of that move. But Albon up to Tsunoda or Antonelli. You could also go Gasly up to, I guess, Albon if you didn't have him there. But where did Pierre Gasly go? And then Colapinto to like Carlos Sainz or something like that as well. Like that would work. But let me bring Colapinto back in. Or then the ultimate move, which would be Piastri to Lando Norris or Max Verstappen if one of those gents ends up on pole. So it's a really interesting build. I really like it. The only thing is the final fix will only get you the points. So if you set yourself up with some people that will fall, that could be something to consider as well. But this is certainly a lineup I'm looking at. If Williams looks super strong, going triple Williams could be in the cards as well. The thing is, and now we're moving over to the B tier assets, is like Gasly's a nice price rise option. Hulkenberg's a nice price option. Tsunoda's a nice price option. Stroll and Albon are all a price option. And I would really only have one of those in this build. So that's kind of an issue here. Having Colapinto and Bortoleto in the squad is nice for like bottom of the barrel kind of thing. But Albon there, and then I'd have to kind of just pick who am I going to go with here? Like Albon feels good for a price rise. Gasly at 0.7. He's been getting into Q3s a little bit. And I'd have 6.9 left over. It feels weird to like miss out on that Hulkenberg, kind of that easy Hulkenberg price rise that might happen here. I mean, like 0.2. So is 0.2 in budget gain with a back of the pack grid guy worth not getting to Lando Norris for the Monaco Grand Prix? The other thing to consider with Hulkenberg is, and I mentioned this earlier, is like Bottas scored 8 points in 2024 and he scored 10 points in 2023. When you have those like way at the back of the grid drivers, like they can gain a lot of points just from attrition of other drivers DNFing, which is really like, those are like free points. You don't get the overtakes, but the positions gained is really, really nice as well. So looking over here at the average fantasy points for each quality spot, first is 40, second is 27, third is 19.5. It goes down a little bit. You got sixth here, but seventh is 15 points. So if you think that Albon is going to get seventh, like he'll get that great price rise. So I really want to keep Albon on my team because 19 and 18, those are tough. Those are really nice, actually. It's tough to overcome that when like you're looking at losing budget, barring a DNF or something like that. Sainz could be a good long-term option. 14 points maybe out of reach. However, if we go to Sainz and we look at the 14 points, that's just 9 points in Spain. I would really back Carlos Sainz to get 9 points at the Spanish Grand Prix. But enough of my little kind of narrative that I'm weaving this week. Let's get back into some of these questions. F1 Vesty says, hi, you and I have a question. Since I don't have money for Albon, I had to bring in Stroll, and now that he hasn't achieved price jump, is it better to use Limitless now because I have no other transfer options? You could go Stroll to Gasly, F1 Vesty, unless you already have Gasly. Because I think Gasly will rise. You could also go to Hulkenberg. So I don't think I would Limitless with Stroll in my team right now. I guess I'd have to know the rest of the team, but 3 points for Lance Stroll. Like he needed 1 point last week and he failed us there as well. So we got to think about that. The Big Apo says for T1 squad, maybe Mercedes, Hadjar, Bortoleto out for Williams, Gasly, Hulkenberg, and still enough money to do the Piastri to Verstappen final fix. You won't have 3 transfers in Spain, though. Yeah, I'd really like 3 free transfers in Spain because that's when the new technical directive is. Rachel says, Rach says, not hearing a lot of people talk about no negative after last year. I'm considering. Yeah, I mean, if there's rain coming in, then sure. But the problem with playing no negative is that locks you out from using Final Fix, and Final Fix might be one of the best times to play Final Fix if Oscar Piastri doesn't get pole. And this is, Rob mentioned it, Formula Fantasy Hub mentioned it in his team selection. As much as I'd love you to watch every single video of mine, I would definitely go watch his team selection this week as well. And he said, this is probably the biggest weekend of the season so far, and it might be of the entire season remaining, where it is wait for free practice, watch Friday practice. Like, if you don't set aside a lot of time for Formula One fantasy before, like, a few hours before the deadline, you're just checking in, blah, 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 blah. Friday night, where you're in bed, you got your phone, you got your iPad or whatever, I would highly suggest, like, you don't even have to watch like those practice highlights because those will be quite boring. I would watch the press conferences of the drivers. That can give you a really big hint into how every driver is feeling. If you see Charles Leclerc smiling, like, that's like alarms up. Like, that could be great news for Ferrari. If you see Max looking pretty downbeat, you never know. Lando, like, you can get some pretty good hints of how the drivers are feeling from these like post-practice interviews that they do. Even like the Thursday interviews where it's like the media wrap-up day interviews that they do, that could be like, we're going to be pretty strong here, or we don't expect to be strong here. Like, that kind of stuff can really help you out in F1 fantasy. So definitely set aside some more time. Reckless Medic says, do you think a triple McLaren with Williams build is worth working towards for long-term points/budget gain as opposed to a Piastri, Russell, McLaren, Mercedes build? I'm currently under 5 million away from either option. That's a good question, Reckless Medic. The thing about Williams is, like, we're getting pretty close to them starting to get into the range of becoming an A-tier asset. And those sweet 0.6 rises are going to go away quite quickly. So if you want to jump on the Williams train and take advantage of it while you can, I certainly will not advise against that. I'm kind of thinking the same as well. This reminds me a lot of the 2024 Haas car, where, at least for me, I won't speak for the entire F1 fantasy community, but I feel like they were ignored quite a bit by a lot of engaged managers. And it was like, these guys are rising 0.5, 1 million some weekends, and we're just ignoring these easy price bumps in terms of points. And like right now, when you get towards the business end of the season, it's really hard to be like, oh, I'm going to go to Haas this weekend to get the 0.5 rise, because that doesn't really do, because you're trying to score points at the business end of the season, right? It's really hard to kind of divert back to budget building. So while we are now in the second quarter of the season at this point, it doesn't mean that we can't still prioritize building budget. And that's what it feels like with Williams, especially when they're 2.5 away from potentially becoming an A-tier asset. That's something we need to consider. They could be one of the, I wouldn't say the last, but they are a very good cash cow at the moment, and we should be jumping on them. 81 people are watching, so thank you guys for watching. There's 27 likes. I'm always trying to hit 50% likes of the viewers, so if we can get to 40 likes, I will stop bugging you about it. And also, we went over 3,100 subscribers, so if you want to be one of the ones that helps us at the channel go towards 3,200, hit that like button and then subscribe to the channel. Rach says, playing with McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Albon, Sainz, Colapinto, Bortoleto, might consider Williams for Mercedes or just Sainz for Hulk. We'll have to see. Yeah, I think Mercedes could come out flying on Friday, and a lot of us could be like, oh, we were just overreacting to Imola, which is just like, that's the last thing we saw, so that's kind of how it goes. But Williams really are a good budget building option. As we look here, I'm going to take your chat off here, Rach. 31 points, 42 points. They need negative 28 or negative 13. They need negative 13 points for a 0.6 price rise. That is so hard to ignore. Let me go over to Pat's excellent graphic here. Williams, if they score negative 13, just say they'll need 33 points for another great price increase in Spain, and I think that's more than doable. Even if they did get a negative 13, I wouldn't rule Williams out of getting 33 points in Spain. So even if they get 0, that'll be down to about 20 points, and we'll be looking at 1.2 budget increase. So I don't think I'd get rid of Williams. Or if you would you're bringing in Williams for Mercedes. Okay, then yes, bring in Williams for Mercedes. I like that too. Samir says, seems there's a lot of budget building options this week. Think a wild card this week to get a bunch of positive assets in. Then Limitless next week would be good. What other upcoming races are good for Limitless? Really to be determined here, Samir. I kind of like at this point for my team specifically, I don't really mind holding Limitless at this point. If something happens in Spain on Friday and Saturday and it looks really obvious and it like kind of seems like, oh crap, like Yuki and Red Bull and Max have figured it out, that could be an opportunity to have a huge delta over the rest of the field because not a lot of managers will be able to get to a specific build like that. So I don't mind holding the Limitless chip this week at all. And then Spa is still good because it's 3-point scoring sessions. Let me look at the calendar here real quick. Canada, Austria, Silverstone, Belgium. It's probably just going to be like a track by track basis for the foreseeable future here, Samir. Adil says Hulk might be the better play than Gasly considering he has 9 and 9 past 2 races rather than 18-13. Yeah, so maybe like a long-term hold Adil. I don't mind that at all, actually. Toby says, I'm thinking of doing Hadjar Mercedes to Tsunoda Williams. Thoughts? Definitely Williams. I like Williams. I'm still not sold on Tsunoda. I'd have to see something, but if you don't have Albon, I would maybe do Albon Williams instead. Isaac says, really feel like I can't decide on anything until FP3. Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge factor this week. Rainen says, I like this team. Hopefully you're talking about my team, Rainen. Isaiah says, what are your thoughts on Piastri, Tsunoda, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, Williams, McLaren? Lots of good budget building options, and I think it's really nice. Williams, Gasly, or Williams, Tsunoda? Oh, man. Tsunoda is tough. I mean, he has that 33 points and the 9 points. I think I'd maybe trust Gasly more than Tsunoda. Is that absolutely crazy? As of Wednesday at 9 p.m. When you final fix, whose budget do you get? I think I just saw Rob commenting on here. Oh, he's saying, coming in and saying hi, but going to watch Europa League now. Come on, you Spurs. I have no idea who I would want to win this game. My dad is a Man United fan, but I'm a Liverpool fan. How that happened, I don't know. Probably some questionable parenting. But let's go here. Someone just asked this question. Sorry about that. Joe asked, when you final fix. I'm pretty sure that it is you get the budget of the guy you originally had. But now I'm questioning because I always forget as soon as someone asks me. Let's see here. All right, let's zoom in a little bit. Let's do some reading together here. What is the final fix chip? Use the final fix chip and make a single change to your team between the end of qualifying and the start of the Grand Prix. You will not incur a penalty if you already used all of your transfers. You will keep the points already earned by your driver removed. The chip is available after your team has completed one whole race weekend. You cannot change the DRS boost allocation, blah, blah, blah. This here. Your original team selection will be restored following the race with your final fix driver removed from the lineup. That makes me think, and I've played the final fix now for a couple of years, so I should really remember this, but I'm pretty sure you will get the budget of your original driver, Joe. Hopefully that helps, and hopefully I have not zoomed out or zoomed in so much that I've wrecked the rest of this. No, it still looks good. Kieran says, I have Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Colapinto, and Hulkenberg, and McLaren and Kick Sauber. What do I need to improve on? I'm 0.1 off replacing Sainz with Stroll. I wouldn't even replace Stroll I wouldn't replace Sainz with Stroll to begin with, actually, Kieran. So, you could maybe do like a Russell to Albon and Sauber to Williams kind of build. Maybe that would be something to look into. Lucas says, hello from Norway. Been lucky this year and is ranked 72nd in the world right now. What should I do with my team? McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto. 2.5 million in the bank. 111.4 million total. So you have the exact same team as me, Luca, and you are 72nd in the world. Where have you gone right, and where have I gone wrong? Let's figure that out. Let's see. Mercedes to Williams, and Hadjar to Sainz, Stroll, Hulkenberg, something like that. Gain a little bit more budget there. Cost yourself some points, but you never know. Fraser says, good day, sir. 115.6 million budget. Probably going to do one transfer from Monaco and run McLaren, Kick Sauber, Piastri, Norris, Albon, Colapinto, Bortoleto. Wow. So you're going points there, Fraser, which I don't mind at all. Steiner says, is it worth leaving space for final fix and not getting like Albon or any rising drivers? I'm trying to do a little bit of both here, Steiner. So 5.2 million in the bank allows me to go from Piastri to Verstappen, but not from Piastri to Norris. Depending on what Friday looks like, I will be a lot less worried about doing Piastri to Norris if it looks like Lando isn't really at one with the track. I'll be more worried about Verstappen or Leclerc. Like Leclerc is kind of like a Monaco specialist at this point, especially getting pole. Formula Fantasy Hub said he's got 3 poles in the last 4 seasons. So that's something we need to look at as well. And then you've got Hulkenberg in here, you got Albon in here, you got Gasly, you got Williams. Like, these are all quite lovely rises I'm expecting, like 0.2, 0.2, at least 0.2, 0.6. So you might be giving up some point scoring ability, but as long as Hulkenberg doesn't DNF, you should be A-okay. But I'm also I'm not entirely confident in the Hulkenberg pick. That's a little bit scary. Do you have to activate Final Fix before or after After qualifying, Oliver, so you will know the results. Fraser says, got to go watch Spurs versus Man United. We'll watch video on demand later. Love what you do. Thank you. Fraser, he says, I'm top 1,000 and still prioritizing budget. Think people are jumping away from budget building too soon, especially with no obvious second A class constructor. There you go. Fraser, top 1,000 in the world, saying still doing budget. So take that for what you will, because he's crushing it. They are crushing it. The Big Apo says, latest weather data says rain on Saturday, cloudy on Sunday. Hard choices. Yeah, I mean, if it's a wet qualifying, I feel like I'd back Max around Monaco. He's got a win. He usually does quite well around here. 6th last year, but overall not bad. I mean, he probably would have gotten pole. What was it? A couple of years ago, but Checo brought out the red flags. Surprise, surprise. So that's something. Slugger Lloyd 454 says, saving transfers this week. Antonelli becoming B tier and more 4.5 million drivers means things will change going into Spain. Yeah, I mean, Alonso is about to become another 4.5 million driver. So that could be a route where... So the thing about Antonelli is, if we go to Pat's graphics, which are fantastic, as always, thank you, Pat, for sharing these to the F1 Fantasy community. 42 points, even if he scores 42 points, right? Like, that's the minimum. Let's see, where does he go? Where do we go? Even if he goes down to 19.2, right? He's still going to need 46 points for a great price rise, or 29 points for a good price rise in Spain. I wouldn't back him to get there. So Antonelli being a B tier driver would be nice, but I think I would still wait one more week to get him in there, especially with the DNF. Nice _91 says, hey, at what point would consider final fix ship? Say Piastri qualifies third and Verstappen first. Would you final fix? Considering the difference between third and first on average over the last 2 years has been 20.5 points. However, 10 of those, or 2 of those, come from qualifying. 18 points, potentially fastest lap, potentially driver of the day. I think I'd do that. Keshlin says, I'm a Man United fan and my dad is a Liverpool fan. So you had a pretty good start to the 2000s, just like my dad. So your dad and myself are having quite a good time since about 2019-ish. Abdullah says, any suggestions for my current lineup? Verstappen, Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Williams. No, I love that lineup, Abdullah. Great job by you. Mayank says, thoughts on a Piastri, Albon, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Sainz, McLaren, Williams lineup for Monaco with a view to Limitless in Spain? I'm not sure about Gasly here. Just looking at this 18 points about to drop off. So then it'll be like resting on 3 points and potentially anywhere from 0 to 7 points here. So that might get a little bit difficult if you go to Pat's graphic once again. If he scores 0 points, if Pierre Gasly scores 0 points in Monaco but gets a good price rise, he'll need 19 points for a good price rise in Spain and 26 points for a great price rise in Spain. So that's a little bit tough. I'm not sure if I'd rely on Gasly. Richo says, hey, my plan is Mercedes to Williams, which frees up some budget to shuffle Hadjar to Gasly / Hulkenberg. I like that a lot, Richo. Ryan says, I have triple Williams, Piastri, Ocon, Hadjar, and McLaren. If I limitless chip this weekend, if either Ferrari or Red Bull look on it, I wonder if it's worth the almost guaranteed price drop for Ocon and Hadjar. Tough. Because you'd be looking at potentially Sainz could drop. Williams could only go, well, Williams is going to go up 0.6, but say Albon goes up 0.2, Sainz goes down 0.2, Williams goes up 0.6, Piastri goes up 0.3. I mean, that's like kind of looking at like a 0.1 rise on your limitless chip, which is not great. Plus, I don't think there's like a guaranteed second runaway constructor kind of thing there, Ryan. So I don't think I would do that with Ocon and Hadjar in the team. If Williams is strong in Monaco, we will see a lot of two-tier A drivers in Spain with McLaren plus Williams, potentially Piastri plus Leclerc, Russell / Hamilton will be interesting. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I sense another Australia in Monaco, i.e. rookies, multiple crashes. Oh my goodness, nice. Why would you put that out there? Have Albon, Piastri, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hadjar, McLaren, Williams. Think about limitless Monaco. What do you think? I think that's an okay team to limitless. I mean, Hadjar is likely to fall, but the problem will be like having Hadjar potentially falling and just like not being able to figure out who, like if Ferrari comes to play this weekend, then I think a lot of people will start to swing back towards limitless with McLaren and Ferrari. It's just, we're going to have to wait until free practice for that one, unfortunately, Caleb. Arjun says, I already have Williams on my team. Do you recommend going for Gasly or Albon? Do you recommend no negative? I think I would go for Albon. He's a stronger option long term because this 18 points from Gasly is going to fall off, but Albon has 19 and 18 points. So I think that's where I would be with that, Arjun. Joaquin says, is it worth a negative 20 to get that budget team you're showing? I'm 106.1. I need more and more budget. Yeah. Do you have the wild card, Joaquin? I would maybe think about a wild card for a negative 20 as well. I don't hate that at all. Craig says, I'm using my no negative. Been screwed over too many times this season. Hey, if you got a bad feeling about this, then go for it. You are preferring at the moment Mercedes or Williams? That will come down to Friday. If Mercedes looks clearly ahead, like battling for a podium kind of stuff, they could come back into my thinking. But Williams right now with this sweet, barring a DNF, almost guaranteed 0.6 price rise, it's really tempting to go with them. And I think that's where I am leaning right now, Renan. Hopefully that helps. Grant says, currently at 112.7, running Piastri, Albon, Bortoleto, Colapinto, Hadjar, and McLaren, Mercedes. I took a negative 10 last week to get away from Alonso. Wondering if I should just do Mercedes to Red Bull and have 3 transfers for Spain. I like that. Yeah, having 3 free transfers for Spain is super nice, Grant. So if that's an option, I would definitely go with that. Alex Ander says, same Imola team as you. Are you considering Limitless at all? I'm kind of surprised many folks seem to have abandoned the idea of Limitless at Monaco when this was hotly discussed a few weeks ago. Yes, Limitless is probably like my backup plan right now. Depending on the weather, the rain scares me. Not like if you go Limitless and the guy you've got the 2X on doesn't qualify first, that's a pretty big problem. And then you can't final fix when you're on Limitless. That's kind of, I don't think like, if it was just a regular weekend, but it's not, it's Monaco, like I wouldn't mind Limitless at all. But the fact that it blocks you off from final fix when this could be one of the better weekends to play final fix. Like if Piastri has a like dreadful qualifying and it's like 7th, just say that happens. And then you've got Limitless and your 2X on Piastri, you can't final fix. Like, yes, you'll probably have like whoever's on pole, Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris in your team, but that could be a huge swing in playing the final fix to get more points. As you can see here, like say he qualifies 7th, right? 15 points across the entire weekend. If you can get the pole sitter, that's 40 points. That's a 25-point gap, which is really nice. So, yeah, that's I think Limitless isn't a bad option, but the fact that it blocks you from potentially optimizing the final fix chip is something that we need to consider as well. 13 minutes to go, guys. Where do you get this graphic from, says Ryan. I'm assuming you're talking about Pat's website here. It is, I always end up, I should just start quoting this in the description because I use it so much. But it's here. I just posted it. Let's check out the poll here. Are you preparing to activate a chip in Monaco? It is pretty mixed here. Yes, Limitless 26%. Yes, Final Fix 23%. Yes, no negative 10%. And no is 40%. So no is taking the lead right now. But if you add up all the chip users, what's that? 49, 59 to 40. So yeah, not bad at all. Pretty mixed. Pat's graphics, where I just sent the link. I just sent the link in the chat. Hopefully you guys like that there. Just click on that link. Next best race for Limitless, asks Ed. It could be Spain. If this technical directive throws a huge wrench in the works and Red Bull and Yuki Tsunoda all of a sudden looks great and not a lot of people can get to max Red Bull, if triple Red Bull is on the table in Spain and like not a lot of people can get to triple Red Bull, triple McLaren and George Russell, like that would be a huge delta over the field as well. So that might be a good place to play him as well. Bubba's Banter says, I'm running Piastri, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, and Alonso with McLaren and Mercedes. 101.7 budget. Thinking of Gasly replacing Hadjar and save a transfer for Spain. Is Williams Mercedes for final fix worth the gamble, by the way? So you can only final fix a driver, Bubba, just in case you didn't know that. But I think I would try and get rid of Alonso because he's pretty much guaranteed to drop 0.5 million this weekend, and he will be a bottom of the barrel asset starting in Spain. So yeah, that's where we're at. I would maybe think about getting Alonso out for sure. Max says Williams also enable budget for whoever gets pulled on final fix. Yep. Do you still have free transfers after I use Limitless? No, you'll have 2 free transfers after you use Limitless, because if you think about it, Limitless, you're using all your transfers anyway, so like you wouldn't have any transfers to roll. If you final fix your 2x, does the replacement automatically get the 2x? Yes, it does, Max. NR says, I only have 106.9, but need 3 changes to move from Mercedes to Williams. But if I do the change now, I might be able to do Piastri, Albon, Sainz, Gasly, Alonso, plus McLaren and Williams next week if things look good. Is the minus 10 worth it? Dang, that is tough. So technically, you're even taking 10 more points away from your Williams versus Mercedes, which is probably not going to work out too well in the point scoring department. I know it did last week, but that was a DNF. All for probably 0.5 budget gain, and then probably more budget gain the week after as well. That might be worth it. That might be worth it, because you might be gaining 0.8 million over 2 weeks for 10 points. I think it's okay. Is it the best time for a final fix in the season? Knowing before the deadline how important qualifying is to the Monaco Grand Prix, this is probably the best time we've had so far this season, but I'm not saying that there's not going to be an engine penalty at some point this season with Lando at a very easy to overtake track, and he's like starting P15 and it looks like he might win the whole thing, or Piastri or something. That could also be a great time to play final fix as well. Who would you lose for Hulkenberg, Hadjar or Alonso? Alonso, because he's more guaranteed to fall 0.5. Alonso loss and Hadjar will probably be 4.5 after Spain, or under 5 million. Nice options to move from Bordello. Yes, that would be nice. What is the average team value? I don't know, Modest Cowboy. I wish I had the answer for you. Steiner says, how many negative 10 points a season should I take? As few as possible, but if it is to like get you into a better build, or if it's to get you like back on track into a proper plan, Steiner, I don't mind it at all. Once you get into negative 20, negative 30 area, that's when we're talking wild card. Ben Evans says, is no negative a good chip to play, or is there a better place to use it? If the weather is bad and it's Monaco and there's 6 rookies on the track, there may not be another best time to play it than then, but you're probably gonna have to make that call before the deadline, which is unfortunate. Like, and weather can change in 24 hours. It's right on the coast as well. Like, things come in, things come out. It's very temperamental. So no negative has been good. I mean, when it rains, it's been pouring when it's no negative. So like in Australia and Miami, like that, a lot of people got saved by the no negative. So if it is looking like it's going to rain, no negative is a good chip. But if it's going to look like it's raining, I kind of want to save final fix in case something crazy happens in qualifying as well. GL Ford says, currently have Piastri, Albon, Ocon, Colapinto, Hadjar with McLaren, Mercedes with 113.9. Have lost 50 points and 0.4 million to fall 24 behind my league rival, who is 1 million less than on meta every week. No idea when/where to catch up. Well, you can get rid of Ocon. He's going to be a sinking ship. Maybe to Gasly. And if you have 1 million more, that keep building that 1 million more, and it will eventually bring home the bacon for you, G. Elford. Do you think the mandatory 2-time pit stop is going to significantly affect the results? I wish I knew, but I can't. I don't know at all. I don't know. Tom Bellingham on P1 with Matt and Tommy was talking about how like they haven't really heard anything about how is it going to be like a mandatory pit window? Like you have to pit between 20 and 30 and 40 and 50. Or is it just you can pit on lap 1 and lap 2 and then just go the rest of the race? Like that sort of stuff. So I don't know. Maybe on Thursday, tomorrow, when we get the media day, maybe we'll learn some more stuff about what's going to happen with this mandatory 2-stop. Mitchell says, is Piastri times 2, Russell, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Williams with 2.6 in the bank, a reasonable limitless play? I'm not too impatient, but I also would be happy to get this over with and stop trying to set it up. Yeah, that's a fine limitless play. The only thing would be, I'm not entirely sure. Russell is probably not going to rise 0.3 unless he wins the race. But if you are kind of like, I just want to like, not impatient, but you're like, this is kind of an okay opportunity. I think it is an okay opportunity to play it. So if that's kind of how you're feeling, Mitchell, I would just go with that. Modest Cowboy says, if it's rain, would you consider Max the favorite if he qualifies in the top 3? If it rains at all, I would probably consider Max the favorite. Best team for 107.7 budget. Well, I have 109.8, so I need to leave you 2 million in the bank here. I don't think this will work, but let's see here. Bring in a 4.5 driver. Let's see, bring in Hadjar and bring in Bortoleto. That leaves you 0.9. So that's an okay squad there. Leica. I don't love it, but that might be a pretty good points scoring squad-ish. I disagree with Tsunoda's support. He has been average since joining Red Bull. Miami and Imola have been disappointing overall in quality and race, so not sure Monaco will be good in points given overtake challenge. Solid analysis. Nice _91. I appreciate that input. And yeah, I'm not sold on Tsunoda. I just like -2 for a good price rise, and 11 is really tasty, especially 8th is averaging 11.5 points. So do we think Tsunoda can just like take the worst spot of the best of the rest? Hopefully. But I think both Williams drivers and possibly Pierre Gasly are actually qualifying a little bit better than Tsunoda right now. But Tsunoda does qualify well here. As you can see, 9th in 2023, 8th in 2024 in the V-Carb. So what can he do with a Red Bull? We'll have to wait and see. Chook says, I have Piastri, Stroll, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, Hadjar, McLaren, Red Bull. Thinking whether I should do limitless or not, because I only have 109 million in the bank. That's a pretty solid squad to get a limitless chip with if you can figure it out. Like who's going to be the second best constructor, who's going to be the top 5 drivers. Il Evan says, debating a strategy of using Final Fix to swap to whoever is on pole could go. Yep. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty popular. I think I'm trying to keep about 4.8, 6.4 million in the bank so I can upgrade Piastri to Verstappen or Norris if that happens. And even if like Leclerc qualifies and I have the 6 million in the bank, that's okay. But I could final fix Piastri to Leclerc. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. All that stuff. 11. Mitchell says, thanks for your guys. Also, Mac Attack got the push-ups done. So they crushed it. Ryan says, any chance you could roughly explain the F1 Insights budget planner? The first row makes sense, but the preceding ones are a bit confusing. Thanks. Yes, I will do my best here, Ryan. So pretty much what's happening here is that, so this top row here, let me get your chat out of the way. So Gasly is here, right? So this is what he's predicting. This is what the F1 Fantasy Tools website is saying. Like, these are the price gaps, right? So if he scores 7 points in Monaco, he'll need 20 points in Spain for another great price increase. If he scores 20 points in Spain, he'll need 5 points in Canada for another great price increase, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of make it out. So it's like a flow chart. So if you think he scores 0 points, he needs 26. And then so on and like that. And if he scored the 26, he would need 5. So then you can kind of do the math from there. It's kind of like a rough guideline. Hopefully that helps. Steiner says, how accurate is Team Calculator and Fantasy Tools, and should I use it? Yes, you should use it a lot. And if you use promo code UN50, you can get 50% off your first month with F1 Fantasy Tools for their premium product, where you can like link your team up and it gives you the live scoring during the race. So yeah, that is it. But yeah, that's an hour already. That was pretty quick. 43 likes. usually try to get up to half the race, but it's the Europa League final. So I understand the dozens of Man United and Tottenham fans will be watching that instead of me talking about F1 fantasy on a Wednesday. So I won't hate on that too much. But I appreciate the support, Modest Cowboy. Mr. Fee 89 says, "What's up, you?" And nothing much. And Vish says, "Currently have Piastri, Albon, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hadjar, McLaren, and Mercedes. Thoughts on Mercedes to Williams and Hadjar to Sonoda? Mercedes to Williams for sure, and then I don't know, maybe Hadjar to Gasly. I got to do some more research into Sonoda, so I'm gonna look into that a little bit more, but I don't mind it at all." Uncle Papa Lee says, "Thoughts on my current lineup of Norris, Stroll, Colapinto, Hadjar, Bortoleto, McLaren, Williams." I like it. I don't love Stroll. I prefer Albon, but with Norris there, that's okay as well. You could drop down to like Max or Piastri, but you'd be a little bit more like a regular team there. So I don't mind that build at all. It's kind of nice, actually. But that is gonna do it for this hour of the Q&A stream. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Hopefully I've helped and answered. If you're watching on replay after the live stream, drop a like, hit the subscribe button if I answered your question indirectly, and you can always hit me up on X at F1FantasyUN over the next couple of days. I will be recording a final thoughts video this week. No deadline live stream for me. I'll be traveling, but I will be watching FP1, FP2, and I will give you my final thoughts in about 10 to 15 minutes. That will go up on Friday evening at some point, so you have all Saturday morning or Friday night to consume it. But I really appreciate everyone that joined the chat. It's been super fun. Oh, hold on. I saw there's another chat. I'll answer these last two. Quick, what's the URL for Insights? I've actually posted it in the chat above there, Modest Cowboy. So go check that out. And then I'm pretty sure you can, yep, exactly, Matthew, you are correct, sir. But yes, like I said, final thoughts video will be coming out on Friday, and I'll be around the entire time up to the deadline on my X account at F1FantasyU, where I'll be posting my lineup, all my thoughts, all that fun stuff. But like I said, I really appreciate everyone that came out on Wednesday night to chit chat about F1 Fantasy. Hopefully I answered your question. If I did, drop a like, hit the subscribe button if you have not, and I will continue to chit chat about F1 Fantasy on my X account, and I will see you on Friday for the final thoughts video. So once again, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.